Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I forgot my shirt, but my name is Gingergentile, and I am the director of the Erasing Family documentary. And I'm very excited to have you all here to talk about something very important, which is how to tell your story. How do you tell your story as an erased parent? How do you let people know what is happening to you in a manner that is concise, clear, and most importantly, effective? And of course, filled with love, filled with hope, because we don't want to speak and say things that actually hurt ourselves or hurt our children or hurt others. This is much harder to do than a lot of people think. And there's a clear reason why this is a great time to practice this. It's because we have some announcements, and on January 10th, I'm seeing hello from Giselle, hello from Mary A. Blodgett. Thank you for joining. Thanks, Rick Tobin. Thanks, Michael Mcdonald, for joining. Rick Tobin is one of our associate producers of the film, so really great to have him on board. So January 10th, we are asking everybody to change their profile picture on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, to holding up a sign that says erased, erased mom, erased dad, erased sister, erased son, daughter, grandmother, whatever you want. I just heard Michael McDonald. Ginger, can I tell my crazy story for the documentary? I have one of the craziest stories. You can on January 10th by holding up the sign and change your status, Michael McDonald, to say, to explain your story very briefly, which today we will learn how. And if you follow me throughout the talk, Michael, and everybody else out there, you can practice by typing in telling your story in less than one sentence, and we can critique it and help get it better. But also, Michael, something very exciting. This is open to anybody, anywhere in the world. If you go to erasingfamily.org, you can leave a video tribute for your child and fill out our survey. And this is the first step for anyone participating in the film. We will be using the videos that we gather, the video tributes on erasingfamily.org. Click on Share Your Story in the film. So if you want to participate, please follow the steps. We are overwhelmed by people who want to tell their stories. And yet at the same time, we're having trouble telling it in an effective manner. So that's why it's so important to learn how to tell your story. So the first thing I want everybody to do, if they haven't already, is to like the Erasing Family page right now. That's the Erasing Family Facebook page. We're on it. And here's the reason why. If you do that, you are able to change your profile picture to erase, like you're holding up a sign, without having to take a new picture. Just go to change my Facebook profile picture, click on add a frame, and you will see the option to add the erased sign without actually taking a new photo. So that's a great option, but you have to like our page to be able to do it. And thanks to Wayne Todd for creating the Facebook frame. I just saw him joining. And thanks to Jessica Scott, who just joined. It was her idea to do the January 10th erased profile pic change. So you can, again, you can do this by just adding, by going to change your profile, selecting on the frame of the erased frame, and to do so you need to like the Erasing Family page. So let's talk about sharing your story. What I have found is that a lot of parents, they feel a need to be heard because nobody is listening to them and they are suffering a great injustice. But when it comes to the moment of sharing their story, they often don't do so in an effective manner that helps people understand how their children are suffering, how the family courts are making the suffering worse. Sometimes they come off sounding unstable or crazy, which if you are not being able to see your kids because you're accused of being unstable or crazy or unfit, having the world think that you are crazy, unstable, unfit doesn't help. If you are accused of being violent and you always react with anger, that is not helping you or the movement. This is a very important concept. So the first thing I want to talk about today is, are you in a place to tell your story publicly? And I'm talking more than just putting up a sign. I'm talking about commenting even on Facebook, which anyone can see. And we talked about on the last episode about how your ex, your child, the judge in your case can see everything you post on Facebook, even if you think it's a closed group. There are no secrets. If you type it in Messenger, somebody can see it. So telling your story publicly is not the same as telling it to a therapist who has pain, who is obligated by law to keep that confidential and to be a listening person and to help you get through stuff. Johnny Bell, it's guilty until you prove yourself innocent in court. So Johnny, first of all, we're not talking about how to tell your story in court. We're talking about how to tell your story anywhere in publicly, on Facebook, to a friend, a neighbor, to your family members. So many people have said their own family does not understand why they can't see their kids. So we need to start small, and before we can lobby Congress or have a protest or a march, we need to be able to explain our story to our mom, to our dad, to our sister, to the new partner that we are dating. Hopefully one day to your own kids, to your neighbor, to the teacher. And if you sound unhinged or crazy, it is not helping anyone. Johnny Bell, I like to tell my story. It's an awful one. So again, if you want to tell your story, go to erasingfamily.org. Click on share your story. You can leave a video tribute and fill out a survey. That's the first step. But please listen, because you need to learn how to tell your story effectively. So the first is, are you in a place where you can talk publicly? Can you tell your story without crying? If someone criticizes you, can you respond calmly and not get upset? If someone offers you a loving critique, for example, you need to slow down when you speak, or why don't you use a different word? Can you accept that and listen to it and think about it? Or do you say, stop criticizing me? Because I've seen so many parents, whenever someone tries to give them a critique out of kindness, say, stop criticizing me. You don't know what I'm going through. I'm not the only one. I am suffering. My kids can't see me. Do you know what happened to me? See how my face changed, how I'm angry? Is that what you want the world to think? That you're angry? No, you need to be able to respond with kindness and love. And this is very hard to do. So if you are in an emotional state at the moment where you can't respond calmly, then do not be a spokesperson. Support the movement in other ways. Share what other people are saying. Go to therapy. But you can't be a spokesperson if you're emotionally unhinged. You're not helping yourself, and you're definitely not helping the other parents out there. Wayne Todd said, you scared me, but I get this all the time on Facebook. I get parents all the time who, when I say, maybe you should stop criticizing your ex. Maybe you should stop calling them an asshole on Facebook where everyone can say. They yell at me and tell me to stop criticizing them. So you're not in a place to share your story publicly yet. You may be in the future. You may be one day, but not right now. So Michael Mcdonald, so what's the best way? There's so much that happened. Bullet points, constitutional violations, civil rights, shocking facts, non-emotional. Enrique, I'm more than able to tell my crazy stories. In fact, I did several media rounds. Have not become emotional while doing it. Great. So hang on. We're only in minute 10 of this Facebook feed. So let's see if we can. Adam Dingle, even comes out the wrong way, you must speak up, speak out. I disagree with you, Adam. You should speak to a therapist, to a support group. But if it comes out the wrong way, and I'm not talking about improving and making it different, but if you come off as crazy or unhinged, if you are sending all of your legal documents along with a press release, you're not helping anybody, because people want to back away. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to get involved with crazy. But if you can show yourself to be calm, effective, compassionate, and loving, you are helping yourself, you are helping your family, and you're helping the movement. So the first place, are you in a place to talk publicly? Just because you aren't able to talk publicly now, does it mean you can? You can't in the future. So Johnny Bell says, I'm a very calm person. Great, that's what we need. My thing, I wish my ex and I could just co-parent, but we're not to the point, I guess. Well, hopefully we will help you get there, and we will help you convince others why default shared parenting, why a reform or removal of family courts and divorce conflicts is so important. So the second thing, when you talk about your story, is what is the one shocking or ironic fact in your case? So I'm going to give you an example. You are unable to see your children because the court says you are unfit, but you are a school teacher who cares for 20 to 50 children on a daily basis. You're a first responder. That, to a lot of people, is a shocking fact because society, the government, the state, entrusts you with the care of children, but you can't see your own children. Maybe it's the amount of money that you spent. Maybe it's the amount of false accusations you've gotten. What is the one thing in your case that doesn't make you unique, because these are patterns that repeat, but what is the one thing that grabs people's attention? So I want everyone to think about, so I'm just going to respond to Adam. I get what you're saying, but what is crazy is what so many of us are forced to go through. I understand. The way you choose to communicate is not a reflection on what you are going through. It is a reflection on how you choose to tell your story and how you take back your own narrative. So being an emotional wreck, there's a place for that. That's with therapy, a support group, close friends, and family. But when you tell your story publicly, you have to be very strategic, because people will try to find holes in your story, holes in your character, and attack you. So you need to be calm, cool, and collective. Giselle Bloom, and mothers too. Did anyone say anything about moms, Giselle? Of course, lots of moms. Please watch our public service announcement with Tamara Judge, #ErasedMom, and you can see how I took an hour-long interview and condensed it into a 1-minute speech that she gives. Sonia asked a very specific question, which maybe we can get to at some other time, but right now this is about telling your story, Sonia. It's not about a question about how unjust the system is. The system is unjust. That is why we're all here. So the second step, so the first step, remember, are you in a place to tell your story publicly? And if not, share the stories of others. Second, what is the most shocking fact about your case? Can people put some shocking facts right there? One shocking fact about your case in the comments. For example, you're a teacher, you can care for other children, but you can't see your own. You've spent a huge amount of money on your case. You have received 30 false allegations. Your case has been in court for 18 years. So Johnny Bell, but it's not just fathers, it's all non-custodial parents. So again, did anyone say anything about gender here? I haven't mentioned gender yet. Okay. I thank God every day of support from family and friends. You are very lucky, Kay Hauk, because a lot of people don't have that. So I'm waiting for one person to put the most shocking fact about their case in the Facebook comments. It doesn't have to be a complete sentence and not explained. You're a police officer, so you're ordered to protect and serve, but you can't see your kids. You spend time in jail. Anyone? Everybody, I'm sure, has one shocking thing. Maybe it's something that the judge said to you. Miriam said, people insist that we keep our heartache to ourselves, and that makes the pain worse. You are right, Miriam. You have to talk out loud. You have to share what is going on. That is the part that will heal you and help others. It's about how to do it in the most effective way. Johnny Bell, I'm a soldier and have been for the past 12 years, and false allegations against me just to get a foothold in the divorce. So, Johnny Bell, could you turn that into, I am a soldier that am trusted to protect my country and go on dangerous missions, but when I get home, I'm prevented from seeing my kid. So I just gave you the same information, but see that narrative and how visual it is? I'm protecting my country. I am trusted to handle weapons, to go on dangerous missions. But when I get home, what is the thank you I get? Not being able to see my kid. People go, wow, that's horrible. Wayne Todd, I went to jail on false allegations. It's now like water for ducks back, but I still need an effective way to talk. So Wayne, so that would be great to say, I went to jail and then it turned out to be false. And that jail time has been used against me since. Sonia, my son is a teacher and the courts are not enforcing a prior custody agreement for him to see his daughter. Great, great shocking fact. Christy Fors, I fought for my kids for the last 7 years and spent over $100,000 and my lawyer just told me there's nothing you can do to see my kids. I haven't seen them in 2 years. Great. I've spent over $100,000 to see my kids and it didn't work. Michael McDonald, Heather Proom, I'm an auntie who's not allowed to see my nieces. For a lot of people, that's crazy. You're an aunt and you can't see your kids. Why? Well, because this other family member can't, but it affects the entire family. That is a great thing to share with people, Heather. Johnny Bell, I fight for my country and put my life on the line. Why can't I be trusted to be a father to my boys? Great. You see how in 1 minute you change the way you express the same thought to something much more emotional? Wow, everyone's coming in very close. Ronald Layton, I have a court order to call and talk to my son every time I call the house to talk to my son. My wife files harassment charges that I'm calling the house. And then you go on. That's already too much. That's more than enough information. Every time I call my son to say hello to him, to check up on him, to do my duty as a parent, which is to communicate and ensure my child is okay, my ex files a harassment order against me. How can I be a good parent when just a simple phone call results in me getting a harassment charge? And leave out the whole New Jersey violation, blah, blah, blah. Keep it simple. Mary Blodgett. I'm not certain So Mary, you can tell your story because you were alienated with adult children, which often happens. So in this case, you're saying, I think it's something more like, we often think that teenagers and young adults can make up their own minds. But we're finding is that they can often be manipulated into hating another parent. And I know because it happened to me. It's been 2 of my 4 girls won't talk to me, and they're missing out on so much, like a relationship with their siblings and other family members. These are all great stories, but you see how it's important to condense. So once we have our shocking fact, which is number 2, so first, are we in a place to talk publicly? If not, how can we get there? Let's share what other people are doing. 2, what is the most shocking fact? I heard a lot of great ones. Let's do what the journalists do. They're able to take complex stories and make a 1-sentence headline. So these are the 5 W's. Maybe some of you have seen this from a journalism class that you took in high school. Who, what, when, where, why. Telling your story in 1 sentence. So the who, this is the key one. It's not you. That's not the important person in this story. The important person is your child who is suffering. The other person is not your ex. It is your child who is the most important who. What? Erased. When? How long has it been since you've been able to see them or have a normal relationship? For some of you, it might be a few months. For some of you, it might be you can see them, but it's only a few times a year. And for some of you, it might be years or even decades. Where? This one can and can't be important. In many cases, especially if you're talking locally, it's important to say where you're from. So for example, I'm a parent living in San Diego, and the San Diegan courts have done this to me. Sorry, coming off a bit of a cold. The why. Why can't you see your kid? Is it because the court orders are not enforced? Is it because false accusations were made? Is there a court order? Do you not have enough money? What is the one key reason? But always say the court orders are not enforced. Don't say my ex does this. Please keep your ex out of this. Remember, even if they are doing horrible, awful things, and believe me, I know, I've heard it, they are still the other parent to your child, half your child's DNA. And if we don't want the other parent to talk badly about you, you need to lead by an example. So instead of saying, my ex won't let me see the kids, why don't you say, I have a court order to see my children once a week, and it's not being enforced. And every time I go to court, the judge doesn't do anything about it. That's much more powerful than my ex won't let me see the kids. Or, I want to be able to see my children, but a lawyer said it will cost me $50,000. And I don't have that because that's more than I make each year. Powerful, simple, short. So does anyone want to take a shot and try to put their story in one sentence? We can work on it. It's just the beginning. And of course, this is the highlights. It's like when you read a newspaper article, there's an entire article, but a lot of people just read the headlines. And that's why this one sentence is so important. And so many people say, well, I can't tell you my story in a sentence or two. But if you want to talk to the media, if you want to talk to politicians, which is the next step, you need to get used to this format. Because often the media will give you 15 seconds, 30 seconds, and the more you talk, the more your words can be manipulated and used against you. So if there's any one of the people looking right now who want to give this a shot, it's okay. If you make a mistake, we can work it out. But if anyone wants to do a one sentence telling their story, remember the who is your kid, it's not your ex. When is how long it's been, and the why, the one simple key reason. And another thing that you want to mention too, and if you have a little more time, is to mention that you are not alone. This isn't just happening to you. This is happening all over the world. So you can say, I'm one of 22 erased parents in the United States. I am, or if you don't have a good statistic, because they're hard to come by, you can say, I come from a small town of 10,000 people. And I have met 10 parents who also can't see their kids in my small town. This is a huge problem. Make it visual. I'm on a Facebook group where there's 30,000 people who can't see their kids in the same group. So always tell your story and then show the bigger picture. So we've gone through 3 steps. The first one is, are you in a place, are you calm enough to tell your story calmly? Or do you need to work to get there? 2, what is the most shocking fact in your case? 3, using the 5 W's to make a concise story. I'm still not seeing anybody who's sharing one of their sentences. I hope that by the end of this talk, one person can be able to share a 1-sentence headline, which explains clearly why they can't see their kid. And of course, there's more to your story, I don't deny it, but this is the key aspect that will help you move forward. The 4th one is avoiding technical language and information overload. I have had so many parents send me hundreds, if not thousands, of pages of court documents. Oh, I just want to ask, how's the technical quality of the video? Wow, a lot of comments. Oh, wow, I'm not scrolling down. Okay. So I have one from Regimine Delvin Valentino. The Phila family court hasn't enforced the visitation of my 3 kids in the past 5 years. So by Phila, do you mean the Philadelphia family court? So first of all, let's use words that everybody can understand, and maybe switch it around, saying, my kids have not been able to see me. My 3 children have not been able to see me in 5 years because the Philadelphia family court does not enforce the visitation order. Sonia Renee, my son is not able to see his daughter and my granddaughter for 8 months because the courts in Freeport, Illinois are failing to enforce a prior child custody agreement. That's good. Can we condense that a little? So if you're telling your story, Sonia, I would say, I'm not able to see my granddaughter. I haven't been able to see my granddaughter for 8 months because the courts in Freeport, Illinois are not enforcing a custody agreement that my son has. Not only are they denying their kids access and a relationship with their father, but a relationship with their entire half of their family. Let's see what else. Mary Blodgett. Throughout the last 7 years, I have been systematically erased from my 4 daughters' lives. That's great. I would add a little more about like who, because they're being, you don't have to say my ex, but saying because they're being brainwashed against me, a little more information. Wayne Todd, I haven't seen my kids in 4 years due to numerous and often ridiculous false allegations. I had a great relationship with my children until the courts got involved. Great. I love that. Okay, so everyone's saying the technical quality is good. This is awesome because last week we had some technical problems. So number 4, avoid technical language. I'm going to read you a press release that I just got. It's a 2-page long press release. Let's see if I can share the screen. Let's see if I can share the screen. No, I'll try this later. Okay. So in this press release that this parent sent out, they used words like target parent, alienation. I'm going to read you some right here. Sadly, it's a call to stop court corruption in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, where parental alienation is far too common in determining how children are raised by only one parent, only one family. I am a targeted parent. So most people don't know what a targeted parent is. Most people don't know what parental alienation is. Most people don't know what a GAL is, a guardian ad litem. Even if you say guardian ad litem, they don't know what it is. Restraining order, people know what that is, but if you say I have an RO, nobody knows what that is. You need to stop talking like a lawyer and always talk to people as if they have an 8th grade education, a 2nd grade education. And now I know you're thinking, Ginger, that's kind of rude. The New York Times is written on an 8th grade reading level, and most newspapers are written on a 3rd grade reading level. So when I, as a filmmaker, make a film, I always think, can someone who didn't finish high school understand this, be moved by this, and get all the information? And I test my films on people who haven't finished high school, just to make sure that the information is super clear. Because when we talk to other people who are going through the same problems, and lawyers and professionals, our language can get super technical. So avoid all technical language. Use it only with people who you know it, but most journalists won't know, and they won't research what it means. And most people outside of the bubble of erased parents don't know what it means either. Avoid abbreviations, and if you do use them and someone asks, don't get mad at me. You would be surprised. Wow, a lot more comments. I'll get to them in a second. If someone asks, explain what it is. I remember once I asked somebody what an RO was, and they go, you don't know, it's a restraining order. And I'm like, whoa, 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 I'm trying to find out your story. I'm someone who's been working on this issue for 5 years. I didn't know the abbreviation, and now you're mad at me. Same thing when people say narcissistic, borderline, cluster B personality. Most people have no idea what that means. Don't use those terms unless you know your audience knows the word. Find another way to explain it if you must. But always use words your audience can understand. So we've talked about 4 things so far. 1, are you in place to talk publicly about your story? 2, what is the most shocking fact in your case, that thing that makes people go, wow, this is insane? 3, can you use the 5 W's to effectively tell your story in 1 sentence? And we got some great examples, so thank you for everyone for sharing. And you want to make it as visual and as emotional. So as someone said, instead of saying, I am a soldier, I fought for my country. Isn't that more visual than I was a soldier? Or, instead of I'm a teacher, I teach 32nd graders each day. Visual, we can see the kids, Instead of saying, I can't see my kids, every time I call, I get a restraining order or harassment allegation. Those things make it kind of visual and interesting and pop. Now the 5th, and then the 4th one is avoiding one thing. Always bring it back to the bigger picture. Talk about the 22 million parents in the US alone who are being erased, or the people who you know personally on Facebook, or the people in your town. So if you're in a small town but you know 10 people, that's a mind-boggling statistic for a lot of people, and shows that there's a pattern and that this isn't your crazy family and the crazy mistakes you have made, that this is something larger than you. This is systemic. And you want to avoid technical language. So a lot of people say Title IV funding in the US, for example. Okay. People say what? And then you have to explain, and it becomes so complicated. You know, even CPS or like all these acronyms, they're alphabet soup to a lot of people. Even the term parental alienation, I remember once, this woman went to a meeting about parental alienation. She came out, and she was a person getting her doctorate in anthropology. And a friend of mine who knew about this. And she went to some meeting, I wasn't there, and they talked about parental alienation for an hour. And she comes out and she goes, they talked about this thing for an hour. It was a very technical term. I go, parental alienation? She goes, yeah. She couldn't remember that term after hearing it for an hour. That is why we invented the erased hashtag, because it's such an easy way to convey what is happening. Erased by the family courts. Erased by the family courts. 5 words. Everybody gets it. I was erased by the family courts. My kids had a loving mom. My kids had a loving dad. My kids had a loving grandparent, aunt, uncle, sister. Erased by the family courts. Isn't that simple? Because let me tell you, when you say alienation, a lot of people say aliens, you know, from outer space. Illegal aliens, immigrants, what are you talking about? Keep it simple. The 5th one, test it. Test your message. And test it to someone who can give honest feedback and someone who doesn't know your story. And a way you can do this is you can say, so I have a friend who's going through this, and then give them the 1-second spiel and see how they react. Because a lot of times people don't know how to react to you, or they feel nervous about giving honest feedback. So you can always say, you know, let me tell you a story about a friend, and see what they think about it. And then you also know who you're dealing with, because I've tried this with people, and it's surprising to say, well, that person shouldn't see their kids then. They must have done something wrong. Are you sure you want to be friends with this person? And they're like, oh, that's me. But at least you know who will support you and who not. Another way is people who do not know about this issue. You can find them anywhere. As long as you don't take up more than a minute of their time. The waitress who serves you coffee in a diner, the bus driver, the person who cuts your hair, the person waiting on the bus for you, the movie line with you, someone at the supermarket. You know, practice with them. Practice with friends who aren't going through this and don't know a lot, and then listen to their feedback. If they give you a suggestion, you don't always have to follow it, but 95% of the time you should. And there's a lot of free ways to test out there. But you know, you want to make sure you're testing with people who don't know about this. So we've gone through, are you in a place to talk publicly? What is the most shocking fact? That wow factor. Using the 5 W's to create a sentence. And please look at the comments. And this is what's interesting right now. Look at the comments and think to yourself, which stories sound good and effective in a sentence and which don't? Learn from them. Go to erasingfamily.org and look at the video tributes. Some are very heart-moving and wonderfully done, and some are awful because they don't talk about their love for their kids. They talk about technical stuff. They're angry. See what works and what doesn't. What do you react to? Or show it to other people in your life. You don't have to tell them your story. Like, hey, can you look at these videos? They're each a few minutes long. You have 10 minutes? Which ones do you like better? See what other people react to. So test this out, and this is so important. If you are communicating with the media, follow the protocols. Press releases should be less than a page long. They should not give all these details about your story. Don't carbon copy everybody in the press in an email. Blind carbon copy them. Or better yet, send it out to each individual person. Understand what is a newsworthy thing. What is news? There's an old saying. Dog bites man, not news. Man bites dog, news. So saying, I haven't seen my kid in a few years, most mainstream media outlets don't want to get involved with custody cases. So you have an uphill battle. So really look at how a press release should be constructed. They all start off with the 5 W's on the top. And there's many places online where you can learn how to write a press release. But if you're going to send a press release, learn how to do it right. 6, be prepared for questions and criticism. Practice it. I was on a talk show once, and there were 2 dads. and one said, I can't sue my daughter. And you know what the host of this said? A journalist, a very respected journalist, he goes, oh, because you raped your daughter? This guy was not accused of anything, first of all. No accusations. But this guy said, well, if you can't sue your daughter, it's because you raped her. You like raping little girls. And this saint of a guy was able to keep his cool and say, no, I was never accused of that even. I would never do that. But if you're going to yell, how dare you accuse me? You shouldn't go on TV. So practice those hard questions. Be prepared with specific answers. Have a timeline ready. Have legal documents ready. You'll probably no one will ever want to see it, but it's nice to have it there in case you're asked. Number 8, always be practicing. Always be aiming to make it better. Speak to your audience, get feedback, and incorporate it. So important. Just because you think it's clear doesn't mean that other people think it's clear. So always ask for feedback. And then number 8, which I think is the most important, is speak from the heart. I've been doing meditations the past few days because I've had a cold, which is the throat chakra. I've been coughing a lot. And I'm realizing that I'm having trouble speaking my truth in a loving and kind way. So what you can do is you can meditate on or thinking about or praying on whatever works for you. How can I speak my truth? How can I speak my truth in a loving, kind way? Always ask before you speak or write something or post something, is it kind? Is it true? Does it help? This doesn't mean don't criticize people. This doesn't mean don't criticize the judge. This doesn't mean be a Pollyanna. This doesn't mean be a doormat. It means showing loving kindness can be strength. Nonviolence has been very powerful. Gandhi, with his nonviolent campaign, kicked the most powerful army and empire out of India. And he did it with loving kindness. That's what we need to do, and that's what our kids need to see. We can't let the hate, the anger, and the fear consume us, and especially when we're talking out loud, when we're talking to other people. Show them that you want to be there to love your kids by showing that you are love. That the criticism you give against the laws, the regulations, the courts, the lawyers, the money, the system comes out of love, love for your kid. That is where power comes from. That is where change comes from. So, recap, not to recap everything. Always be looking for feedback. Always be practicing. So important. And if you feel that you're ready, there's a few opportunities to tell your story. The first is to go to erasingfamily.org, and you can make a video tribute to your kid. Speak from the heart. Speak about how much you love them, how much you miss them, how much you want to see them. It's not about blaming. And watch some of the videos and see which ones are effective and which ones aren't. And on January 10th, you can change your profile pic on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter to having the erase sign. If you go to Facebook, if you like our Erasing Family Facebook page, you can put the erased frames. You don't have to take a new picture. Just add the frame. Super simple. And then in your status, share your one sentence story. So now I'm going to go to questions. Okay, so Monster Varela. I fought for my daughter's custody, cost me over $100,000, lost my business, lost my car, lost my property, end up getting 50-50 custody and sole custody. Child services came to my house more than 7 times. They tried numerous of times to take my daughter away from me. When she was only 2, now she's 8. My prom ended in 2011, yes, finished 2017. My attorney said it will continue until she's 18 and will not stop. So that's great. That's an okay paragraph. Is there a way, can you just say, I lost everything? Instead of I lost my business, my car, my property. Child services came to my house more than 7 times. They tried numerous times to take my daughter away from me when she was only 2, now she's 8. Okay, that's a mouthful. Can you say something more like, child services came to my house 7 times and tried to take my daughter away even though there was no proof that I was doing anything wrong. Something more simple. Miriam Estep, gun was pulled on my grandson by stepfather. Stepfather lied to the children's services. The grandmother, was erased. Okay, so let's start with, I'm an erased grandmother. I can't see my grandchildren because the stepfather, my grandchild, it's a little confusing. It's just like it's too much passive voice there. So we worked out a little. Miriam, Sammy Barber, I can't see my son for 4 months because his father sent him to live out of state with his grandparents. I have 50-50 custody. FOC says go to the police. It's parental kidnapping. Police say to go to FOC. Right there, I have no idea what FOC is. You lost me right there. No idea what FOC is. So please don't use technical language. Say what the FOC is. Michael McDonald, loving father is alienated from his own kids for over a year after attorney shot himself and got put in jail for 6 months on unfollowable orders, lost almost everything, house. $150K, especially time with the kids that can never be replaced since last Christmas. So, Michael McDonald, I've been erased from my kids for over a year. I lost $150K and everything I have trying to fight for them. But the worst part is that the time I lost from them can't be replaced. I don't care about money, but I'll never get that time back with my kids, and they deserve to have a loving father. Tina Eggman, I would avoid blanket statements about counties. It makes a person sound like they have mental health issues, even if it's true, no conspiracy theories, just the facts. I agree. If you begin to, sometimes conspiracy theories are true, but sticking with the facts and making it as simple as it can be makes people want to believe you because they don't have to take these leaps of faith. Sammy Barber, still fighting to get him returned. His father's diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder by CPS. CPS begged the judge not to give him unsupervised visits. Okay, so Sammy, what is narcissistic personality disorder? Most people have no idea what that is. Is it dangerous? Aren't most people narcissistic? Who is CPS? Keep it more simple. Rick Tobin, I prefer to use a simple explanation of controller versus non-controller conflict. At this point, most people understand how controllers act based on their own personal experiences. Michael McDowell says, good job. Ginger people need to hear how to tell their story without so much narrative and details. People not listen. I get emails and Facebook messages every day of people wanting to share their entire court case with me, and then they get offended when I'm not going to read it. As a filmmaker, I'm looking for particular stories, and the first test I give people is, can you tell me your story in a sentence or two? And they say, oh, it's so complicated. I'm like, well, I have only so many hours in the day, and I'm someone who's devoting my life and my full-time job is to talking to people and telling their stories. So if that's my response, imagine what a busy journalist would think. Adam Dingle, I use legalized fatherhood and finds that it gets people's attention. That is attention grabbing. Just keep in mind, is fatherhood illegal? I think you could open yourself up to debate right there. So just be careful about those terms. Christy Beck, thank you for working to educate us. Very important, relevant. Thank you, Christy. Always room for improvement. Very true. Wayne Todd, how many erased parents nationally did you see? So if you haven't already, please go to erasingfamily.org. Click on our public service announcement with Tamara Judge called Erased Mom. 22 million. I'm going to type it right here. Million parents are erased from their kids' lives in the U.S. alone. Statistics are hard to come by. But there was a study done by Professor Jennifer Hartman out of Colorado State University. Google her. She also wrote a great book called Parents Acting Badly, has a wonderful TED Talk, great person. And she actually did a poll, and the polling data shows that this is, if you extrapolate the data, it's about 22 million. Now, this is where it gets interesting. That sounds really high, but in the documentary Erasing Family, when we talk to university students, we found that about 45% say that they have suffered this at some point. Now, suffering doesn't mean that it worked. So a lot of times one parent might be erased, but the child doesn't go along with it. Or a lot of times the kid ends up erasing both parents because like, I want to get out of this crazy conflict. I don't see my mom or my dad ever again. You both are crazy. Bye-bye. And I understand that. Amanda Anderson, I'm hiking the Appalachian Trail, 2,200 miles, April 1st, 2018. I'm doing the name of erased moms and dads in parental alienation. That's great. Mary Blodgett, as an erased parent, I'm completely blocked. What good will changing my profile page or videotaping do? I must be missing something. So Mary, this might not ever get to your kids. What we're trying to show is how many parents are suffering this and get people talking about it and seeing that they aren't alone. So if you're saying, how can I reunite with my kids? I did another video on how one of the steps is to stop bad-mouthing the importance of self-care. It's being prepared for that reunion, giving them slow drips of love. It's a topic for another time. This is about how to communicate with everybody else, our family members, our friends. Because a lot of people say, my friends don't know I can't see my kids. It's too embarrassing. Hopefully this will give you the strength to move forward. What was the key moment in the gay and lesbian move for equality? Coming out of the closet. Because people said, gay people are sick and they're crazy. So when someone said, I'm your neighbor, I'm your teacher, I'm your lawyer, and I'm gay, people were like, oh, well, then I guess they're not that bad because I know you and I trust you. So if we want people to feel the same about erased parents, we need to be willing to talk publicly in a loving and kind way. So Amanda Antonin, friend of the court. So she said FOC, okay? I don't even know what friend of the court is. This is way too technical, Amanda, for me and for most people. So you can say, you know, refer me to the court. And I'm not saying this to be mean, but just think about how people react if they have very little information on this topic. How can we make it so simple? Clara Bowles, I lost everything and my kids because my husband became mentally ill. He had a lawyer, I didn't. That's pretty good, pretty concise. Maybe a little less emphasis on your husband, but still pretty good. Rebecca Palmer, I'm new here, have been estranged from daughters and granddaughters. Their choice, not mine. Hope I'm not getting too much off point. No, that's good. So what you want to focus on is how much you desire to have a loving relationship with your children and your grandchildren. But unfortunately, it's very easy to brainwash and manipulate kids. And you just hope that one day they can realize that there's a loving family waiting for them, and you want to expand their love, and kids should never have to choose. Mary Blodgett, thank you. I understand now. Even if it doesn't directly benefit me, I'm on board with standing up against injustice for all the race family members. That is great. It might help you. It might hurt you. Speaking out can have negative benefits. But if you're completely blocked, if you are completely F-U-C-K-E-D, fucked, what do you have to lose? So Amanda Antonin, in answering when you asked what it was, so I agree, friend, FOC, friend of court, that is the correct term, but just think about, and this is why it's important to talk to people who aren't going through this, get their feedback, and when they say, well, what does something mean, changing the way you describe it. Erased is not a technical term. When I came up with this term, it wasn't because I talked to psychologists and said, what's the standard definition? I said, what's something that people can understand right away that's simple and to the point? You see, now here's someone else. Father of child is FOC. So we have someone who's saying FOC is friend of court and another person saying father of child. So we have two people who think FOC means something completely different. So important to spell it out. Because imagine if you said this to Lara and they said, the police told me to go to the FOC. And she's thinking, why did the police want her to talk to their dad? Brandon Lee Crooks, amazing messages. Thank you. Don't make them wrong to make you right. Dana joined. Hey, Dana. Thank you. Dana is a wonderful woman who has gone through this from the child's perspective, and she is an inspiration, and she always says, stay healthy. So that way when your kids find you by chance or because they look for you, they see someone who's able to be a part of their life, who's able to defend them, who's able to help them when they leave the other household or get kicked out of the other household. That's why it's so important to be strong and healthy. Wayne Varner, I raised 3 years for my son with Asperger's. I practically raised him alone. Strong bond. My ex is a borderline PD. Okay, right there. What is borderline? What is PD? Custody evaluation recommended full custody of both my children. The court system has allowed my son to be alienated from me. I have been falsely accused of abuse, arrested, and cleared. It deflected her alienation of my oldest son. I'm at $100K in legal fees, will never give up. Thank you for your work. I'm totally on board. Great, Wayne. I hope that you and everyone else here on January 10th can change their photo to the erased profile. You can change the frame, so you don't have to take a new photo if you like the Erasing Family page. And then also on that day, use the 5 W's to tell your story in your status. And if you're like, I want to tell my story now, Ginger, I can't wait. Go to erasingfamily.org, click on Share Your Story, send a video tribute, and also there's an extensive survey where you can tell in detail what has happened. So Wayne, I think what you have a very strong story. Find a simple way to communicate that without using so many technical words. LM Ash, I want to say thank you for helping us erase parents and family. I've been alienated from my son for almost 10 years. He's now 14 and his father has erased me and his siblings completely. I miss him so much. Sorry to hear that. Laura Feligate, sorry. It's so sad, especially around the holidays. My ex and his fiance have been systematically alienating me out of my 2 older children. My youngest is completely confused by this alienation. I have run out of money and can no longer defend myself. My family is completely chopped up. Very powerful. Find a way to say that a little more concisely. Rebecca Palmer, yes, their father, he did this, and I'm broken, would just have to have a picture of granddaughter, have never seen her, maybe will, this time of year is so very hard. So sorry to hear that. So you can say that I don't even have a photo of my granddaughter, and all I desire is to at least have a photo of her. See how she's doing. That I would give anything to have a photo of my granddaughter. That will touch people's hearts. Speak to people from your heart and speak to them emotionally. Make it visual. I just want a photo of my granddaughter. Stacy Simpson, how do we get an emergency hearing in court when ex refuses to follow order? So Stacy, unfortunately, I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on the internet. This is about communicating with people. I did another video, the technical quality isn't great, but it's why you never win in family court, that goes over some things to know about before you enter family court. Mary Blodgett, this is awesome. I'm so enthused about finally creating a venue for positive impact. Yes, we all miss our children. Yes, we do. Time is a thief and does not return what it has stolen. Oh, I love that. I'm actually going to write that down. You're a poet, Mary Blodgett. Time is a thief and does not return what it has stolen. Wow, that's great. That's a great phrase right there. So I've been talking for almost an hour now. Are there any comments? I'm going to do a quick wrap up for those who've joined in late. First of all, go to erasingfamily.org. If you like this video, if you want to see more, if you want to see us finish our documentary, we have been interviewing reunited children, reunited families, with the hope of inspiring other kids who have aged out of the system, and a lot of your kids are probably in that situation, to reunite by showing them positive examples and explaining why the system does this, how it makes money, and how this can be prevented. Make a tax-deductible year of the end end of the year donation so we can continue our work. Any amount is great, and if you donate $50 or more, you can get a dedication to your kid in the credits of the film. And if you're like Rick Tobin, shout out to Rick, if you donate $1,000 or more, you become an associate producer of the film and get top billing. So we need your help to finish the film. January 10th, everyone's going to do a race profile pic change. If you like our Erasing Family page, you will, when you go to change my profile pic, you can say add a frame, and you can add the erase sign that I've been having to take a new page. Get other people to commit. We have an event page, and it's great to say going so we know that you're going to do it. And if we get at least 1,000 people to commit by January 6th, and we're up to almost 100, we can contact the press and they will cover this. But if we can't get to 1,000, it's really not principle. So if you know another erased family member on Facebook, ask them to do this, to commit to it by saying going on our Facebook page, on the event page, not just saying going in the comments, clicking on going, okay? Get your other family members. They can be an erased grandma and erased sister to commit. The more people, the better. Things don't go viral on their own people. Tara Bone, my ex made abuse allegations against my mother to get leg up in custody 1/2014. Okay, so Tyra, I understand what you're going for, and thanks for using the erase sign. That's great. There's a lot of dates, a lot of dashes. It's making it a little hard to understand. So you can say, I lost all custody rights in 2014, and I'm still waiting to have a meeting with my child. Much more shorter, much more effective. Ella Mash, I'm on board. Jeremy Handsome, I got 5 hours a week with my eldest. I am married 8 years and have 3 children, and we are pregnant with our 4th. Yet my assertion of legal rights is a cause for the removal of my legal rights as stated on record. Whoa, Jeremy. So much information, 4 sentences. It's a little confusing. You assert legal rights, you don't have a legal right, you're married, she's pregnant, you have all these kids. Focus on the one kid you can't see. But bring it back to the 5 whys. So Jeremy Hansen, I'm still gonna be on for another minute if you want to give it another shot. I understand your pain. It's just focus on the one thing, and that you're pregnant with a 4th is not the thing to focus on. Laura Felgate, or Felgate, I am so glad I found this group. It's really encouraging to know we're not alone. Thank you. Tara Bone. Mary Blog, I want to write a book. Are you familiar with publishing and writing books? Jessica Scott, everyone join this event. We need more people. Thank you. Getting a lot of thank yous. Gina Irene, we donated back in March and never heard back from you guys. Okay, Gina, I will contact you in Messenger right now, but please send an email to info@erasingfamily.org and we will find out what happened to your donation. I'm not the person in charge of that, but we will definitely track it down. Sorry to hear that. Blair Craze, I finally uploaded the video tribute. It was not easy to courage. Thank you for all you're doing. It does take courage, Blair. If you speak with love, remember, it might come back to hurt you, but overall will help you because people see that you're speaking with love. Helen Ash, I share this with my parents and children of Alienation, the Missing. Thank you, Rebecca Palmer. So very true, very ill now. They don't know, just a little bit of their time, just a little. Jessica Scott, please join everyone. Tara Barone or Barone, yes. I mean, think about it. If I say 100 people are going to change a profile picture, no one is going to cover that. 1,000 people, we might get some minor press outlets to cover it, but 100 people, that's not pressable. Really, you know, viral is hundreds of thousands, but at least 1,000 committed, that's a clear number that we can say. And that's something else that's very important. If you're talking to the press, and if you've given them an expectation, make sure you can follow through. If you say, we are going to have, this is just a famous example, a 1,000,000 parent march, and 50 parents showed up, don't call it 1,000,000 parent march. Call it, you know, 50 Parents March, call it Voices of Our Children. Set the expectations and make sure that you can over-deliver. Fiona Radford, can't go, I live overseas. Fiona, good news, you don't have to go anywhere. You just have to change your Facebook profile pic on January 10th and write in your status in one sentence, why you can't see your kids. You don't have to go anywhere. There's no ticket to buy. There's no money to spend. Though if you do want to drop some cash, you can make a tax-deductible donation to erasingfamily.org. End of the year gift is tax-deductible. Every penny gets used into making the film. Friend of the court, enemy of the family. Very true. Great information, Ginger. Mediator in Colorado. Thank you, Lara Thompson. Janet Pagano, thank you for teaching us how to share our stories. Thank you. This is just the first of many live video feeds. There's a lot more detail we can get into, but this is the first step. Chance McDonald, my stepkids after the divorce were never allowed to talk to me or see me again. I was there in their life for 5 years. I was the only dad they knew. Haven't talked to them. It's been 21 months. So a lot of numbers. So just say, like, I haven't been able to talk to my stepkids for 5 years, and I was their primary caretaker. Fiona Radford, how to figure that out later. Great, Fiona. Glad that you will be able to join us on January 10th with your race profile pic. Jeremy Hansen, my wife and I have 3 children and having a 4th. My eldest is from a previous relationship. I assert my legal rights and have made my legal rights. My eldest terminated. I've had 3 of my children to clarify, and I'm still married. So Jeremy, let's leave out the 3 kids that you can see. Can we talk about them another way? It's been X years since I've been able to see my oldest son, and he has 3 half-siblings who he can see. I want him to be able to have a relationship with his 3 siblings because we're about to have a newborn baby, and it pains me to know that my newborn baby might never know his brother. Now you're putting the emphasis on your kid and your other children, talking about the relationship as siblings, which, let me tell you, there's a lot of people out there who will say, well, your parent, if you can't see your kid, you messed up. But when you say, my kids can't see their siblings, people go, whoa, craziness, that shouldn't happen. I wonder if that makes sense, Jeremy, to turn it into that your eldest son is denied a relationship with his 3 half-siblings, and there's nothing more that you want him in the world to see his baby brother when he's born. The fact that you're still married, unimportant. People are married, unmarried. Not news. People get married all the time. People have kids out of wedlock all the time. Not news. Focus on the news. A child is denied a relationship with his entire family. The less you can make this about you, the better. The more you can make it about your kids and the extended family, the better. The most moving things people say are the erased sister, the erased brother, the erased aunt, uncle, grandparent, not the erased mom and dad signs. Because that just shows how crazy it is. How can a little child have anything to blame? And in our film, Erasing Family, the documentary that we're making out, every story I talk about is about sibling alienation. A kid can't see their sibling because their parent isn't allowed. This affects the whole family. Fiona Radford, an alienating parent can see you changing your profile as bad-mouthing online. I don't know. In your status, don't say X. Blame the courts. Say how much you love them, your children, how much you want to see them. Don't mention your ex. Very simple. If you never mention your ex, you cannot badmouth them. You would say, courts are not enforcing custody order. I want to see my kids, but the courts won't let me. I don't have the money to go back to court. I can't talk with my child. The courts don't do anything. There's no enforcement. There's no resources. Therapy is too expensive. Could there be a consequence for speaking out? Yes. Ask yourself, will it make things worse? Regina Marie Valentino, that's a great name. I hope I said it right. So true. This is all about our children, their pain, not ours. Yes. Don't make it about you. People don't care and don't listen about your crazy story. People want to avoid crazy. But they care about the kids. And they care about what generation we're raising where they are denied relationships with loving family members. So to recap, because I'm going to close, Jeremy Hansen, Facebook poster hearsay, not always, they are being used against parents in courts of laws. LMS. Great way to put it. Thank you for giving us better ways to speak out of our race family and those that have been raised from us. So next week, same time, same place, Facebook. We'll be doing another live video. Still trying to think of the topic. If you have suggestions, let me know. This video and all the other videos are available on our Facebook page. Please share widely. Remember, January 10th, a race profile pic change. Go to our event page and click on that you are going and others to do so, including your own family members. And if you can, make a donation to erasingfamily.org, and you can also leave a video tribute there and tell your story. Thank you so much. Until next week, peace out.